All right, I think it's really important for us to talk about how to recognize toxic manipulators. So, I'm going to talk a little bit about some of the signs because it's important that we are more aware, consciously aware of what these people are up to. A lot of the times, their behavior is so sophisticated and subtle that we misconstrue the actions that they're taking to be something benevolent, when in fact it's quite the opposite. So, number one, they're desperate to deceive. If you'll spend some time with people that are toxic manipulators, they come in many forms, but they get their own way by manipulating people. You'll find that they utilize every opportunity at their disposal to deceive. For normal people, moral people, deception is something distasteful, something that we might use if we're in a sticky situation, or there's something that we want to keep private, or we feel like, oh, this is nobody's business, so maybe we bend the truth a bit. Whatever it is, even if it's a full-on lie, fact of the matter is, for most people, deception is not something that they go to as a first call. It's something maybe used to protect themselves or when necessary. With toxic manipulators, dangerous people like this, that's not how they use deception. That's not how they use lies. They are desperately looking for opportunities to lie. So, what I mean by that is they will be able to not lie in a certain circumstance. For example, you might go somewhere with someone who operates in this fashion, and it might be like a social event, and you'll just be chilling and enjoying and maybe meeting some new people. And for some reason, you haven't emptied out your life story on these people because you have no incentive to do that. You're not worried about what these people think of you. You're just taking things easy, letting things roll. You're winging it. It's very natural and it's very organic. With these manipulative types, this is not how they approach a scenario like a social event. Their priority is to get in quick, introduce themselves to people, and set the narrative with these people. And they will have a pre-prepared, deceptive narrative that they will data dump on new people that they meet. When you first come across this sort of behavior, you won't recognize it as what I've just explained. You'll think, oh, they're very open and fun, and they like to socialize, and they like to share about themselves. So that's the benevolent interpretation of this very malevolent feature. That is not what these people are doing. These people are trying to infect new people that they come into contact with data that they have carefully curated so that it will fit their agenda. So if you've seen this happen a couple of times, you actually can pick up on the fact that this is fully scripted. There will be a number of things that this person will share about themselves. They'll all be good things. Now, if you know this person well enough, you'll be able to pick and recognize all of the things that they are leaving out of what they're telling people. So they'll tell all about how successful they are, how much, opportunities they have, all of the things that make them look cool and interesting, and like they're the sort of person that you would want to spend time around. So they're baiting these people, they're pulling these people in, they're making themselves magnetic to these people, making themselves liked by these people, and making people want to look up to them and impress them. And as I said, there's absolutely no need to have done any of these things. If it was a normal person, they would just come into a setting like this and organically get to know other people and share a bit about themselves. But they're not here for the same reason that you or I might be here. They're here to get what they can and manipulate people's perception of themselves. As I said, it means also setting the narrative so that any other information that people find out about them at a later date will sound less true, will be believed or disbelieved in the context of the data dump that a manipulator will first give to people that they meet. Think about it in terms of first impressions. Manipulators will jump in and force the first impression to be in their favor, regardless of if it's true or false. And let me tell you, if it's a toxic manipulator, it'll be false, at least 50% of it, and or it will be twisted heavily in their favor. It'll be heavily biased information. A lot of it will be half-truths, and it will be to create a false impression of them. If they were a fully reliable, trustworthy, and good person, then they could tell the whole truth about themselves, and there would be a very, very favorable perception people would have of them. But the fact of the matter is, this is not a good person. This person has many skeletons in the closet, and so necessarily they must lie and set the narrative in case anything that sounds a little untoward comes out about them, and then it'll be framed within that first impression that they gave people. So that's just a bit of intro on the desperation to deceive. I suppose second point, they're all interconnected to a degree, but the second point is they can't rest. These people can't sit still, they can't rest. They may have learnt to wear a facade of calmness, but this is only hiding the chaotic energy underneath. These people are always scheming, seeing what the next move is. It's like a chess game. Part of it is what I already spoke about, feeling the need to set the narrative and bend people's realities so that they have a good impression of themselves, whether or not that's warranted. So that's one of the tasks that they always have to keep on top of. You'll find if you go somewhere to a function or something where people understand the social norms, say it might be Christmas or a birthday, and everyone knows, okay, this is time for us all to be together in a social setting, and we put aside any other kinds of obligations at this time, and there's no need to rush off and do unnecessary things. There's a sort of sacred specialness to certain times like that. These people, you'll see, they won't be acting in line with that. They will always have something better to do, something that will make them leave the location. They'll rush off because, oh, I have to do this or I have to do that. So there'll be this chaotic energy of, oh, what, and people, maybe you'll say, oh, why don't you just stay? Let's relax and enjoy and be with our friends and have a good time. But if they feel like there's no scheme, no narrative they need to be pushing at this place, there's no scheme that they can pull off, there's nobody that they can bait into some sort of benefit for themselves, then they feel empty, they feel bored. This is what they'll call it. It's not that. There's a kind of emptiness, and they have a past full of shame. If you've been toxic and manipulative and hurting people left, right, and center, your past is like a cesspool, and that's not something you really want to think about. You don't want to introspect. You don't want to explore the finer aspects of yourself. So their goal is to be always busy, always running around, just keeping the chaos going. Again, first impressions of something like this is people think, oh wow, this person has a lot of prospects. They always have a lot going on. They're so interesting. They're such a go-getter. They're so out and about. That's not what's going on here. This person is giving that impression, but also they're just running from themselves. They're running from the emptiness. They're running from accountability, because oftentimes you'll see that for them to be relaxed, say, in a social setting with other people, is a time sometimes where things are dredged up, or just relaxing with you. You might be like, hey, I always want to talk to you about this thing. Like, I feel like there was a problem between us. No, they don't want any spare time allowed for such things. They want to get out ahead of it before people can probe any deeper and find out that there's nothing of substance within this person. This person is like a whirlwind, a tornado of chaotic and destructive energy that is not self-sustaining. It utilizes the energy in its environment, the people around it. It drains and draws from them to create a perception of substance, a perception of movement and energy and beingness and existence. And without that, they are nothing. And instead of facing the fact and building from the bottom up, which would be no mean feat, I should say no easy feat, they avoid their emptiness and avoid everything that would make them confront the damaging nature of the life they choose to lead, damaging to themselves and to everyone that unfortunately gets caught within their net. Which leads me very nicely on to the third point. Toxic manipulators like this are only interested in people for what they can get from them. The perception of chaotic energy, oh, I'm such a go-getter and I got so much going on. The setting the narrative so that people think, wow, this is such a magnetic and interesting person and I should have something to do with them, when in fact the exact opposite is true. All of that is to draw people into their tornado creating energy. They are not interested in people for who they are at all. They are interested in what they can get from people. This is only about siphoning attention, energy, resources, and opportunities to further siphon energy, attention, resources. It's happened to me numerous times. Again, social settings. Go to a party, with this person. Be so happy to see all of the friends, to share, play some games, eat, catch up, you know, just be around people in a setting where the whole purpose is recreation and leisure. I mean, for my part, a lot of the people that I've always kept around me were people that I had hobbies and other kind of worthwhile endeavors I had in common with them. So we'd always be like doing some kind of work or creative activity generally. But if you go to someone's birthday party, that's put aside and you're all just there to celebrate and be happy. So I would be at an event like this with this manipulative person, this toxic person that I'm talking about. And we might be there for like 2 or 3 hours, and I would be just moving around the space and catching up with people and sharing. And it's happened so many times. This other person, a few hours later, we're leaving, and I come to find out they've started a new business venture with one person. And then they've done some other completely diametrically opposed thing with some other person. And then they've decided that they're going to do some money-making venture with a third person. And then, like, a whole new spate of opportunities would have been put into place by this person within a span of time that is ridiculously small sometimes. I mean, it wasn't always 2 or 3 hours, but time dedicated for being with people is not used for being with people. It's used for seeing what you can get from them. I mean, and it's easy to test this as well, because as soon as people stop feeding these toxic manipulators, they'll throw them out, you know? They'll throw them out. What can you do for me, basically, is the idea. But this is not how it'll be framed. Like I said before, they'll make themselves magnetic. They'll make themselves seem like the most interesting people. They'll have this energy of busyness and chaos around them that makes them seem like they're the person that things are happening around. And then they'll be looking for opportunities. They'll be data mining other people to see what this person might be able to give them. And then they'll be immediately, with no delay, putting in place all kinds of things in a rushed way. For example, if a normal person thinks to go into business or something of that sort with someone, usually they'll get to know the person a bit better, go out for a coffee, maybe take some time. No, these types will pounce and prey quickly. They'll move very fast. I'm sure you've listened to other videos talking about toxic people of this sort. They move with speed because they're trying to get before anything can alert you or another person that there's some reason that you shouldn't be associated with them. that it might be dangerous or not in your best interest. So these are all, I mean, there's a lot to say about all of this stuff, but those are the 3 points that I wanted to cover today. First, they're desperate to deceive. Second, they can't sit still, and there's a chaotic energy about them all the time. And third, they have no interest in people for who they are or getting to know people with any kind of sincerity. They're only interested in what people can do for them and give them that will serve their agendas. I hope this was informative and helpful. Let me know in the comments below if you've noticed any of these sorts of behaviors in toxic, dangerous, manipulative people that we're all unfortunately encountering these days. And also, if you have any other ways of recognizing such people, please do share them in the comments. Until next time.